Welcome back to the Stuff or Whatever podcast show. Speak Quanchi here. Before we get started, I always like to say the best way to support me in the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. And also watch. I never mentioned watching, but that does help too. Um, I do podcasts and the videos. I have stuff in the works. Nothing too flashy, but I've been just thinking, what I want to do with the channel and see what I can cultivate, whatever. And follow on Twitter to catch fun tweets and other updates, and follow on Twitch as well because I have been doing streams, gaming, and all that. Pretty much consistently Thursday and Fridays. It's been a little boring, but I've been having fun just because it's games that okay, yeah, if I'm gonna play this game, might as well just stream it as well. I did have a fun stream last week. I was playing Noida and I beat it for the first time, so that was fun. And I think I might even do. I say might, but I that means I am. Can just have a clip of that run to post, just to see how people react to that. Because I know sometimes when you see like a long video, like a stream, it kind of feels like, oh, do I really want to watch that? But maybe you do. Maybe you want to watch my streams. But I think if I just like edit down my run and post online, just because there's like someone who can barely get past the third area, get really stupid lucky and beat the game. So look out for that. And also, I've been kind of inspired to play more indie games, at least indie game demos for games that aren't out yet. Not that I'm really like big platform or person to put a spotlight, but I thought that'd be kind of like a fun idea. So I know for this week, it just depends on how I go through them because I do want to go back to other games as well. But I thought it'd be fun, like to hey, I'm gonna play demos of these games because I know for at least what I have lined up, most of them aren't out yet. I think one is early access, but they have like that's one thing I like. I think I mentioned on previous podcasts as well is that I like to follow. I've been following the topic of indie games, but also try to follow at least make a list on Twitter for these developers and stuff like that. Um, I know it's very convenient, at least from myself as a consumer, if they have like a Steam page where you can go there and wish list it, and when it comes out, you can get the little email from Steam and have a demo. Because I feel like a lot of them have their own sites, or I think itch.io is another big website that does like a bunch of indie games or stuff like that. So I'm not sure how difficult it is to get uh, on Steam as a developer or publisher or whatever. But yeah, I just think it'd be kind of cool, just like I was kind of like looking at the underdog and stuff like that. Like I kind of like the more like indie games in general, just like not like really triple A, like kind of like the good throwback to like SNES era games where it's not like it's more like being fun versus being like the best graphics and story and all that and hours of story gameplay versus like I think kind of like the random roguelikes and Metrovanias are pretty fun too. Replay because another one, Hades, I still haven't beat on stream even though I beat that on my own personal time. But that's one I want to go to, and that's like an example of any game that got really successful. Like you can tell this like how much love and work went into that game by the visuals in terms of the character art. Like it's not like fancy high graphic, but all the voice acting too. So that's a really strong one, a good one. So I'll go back to playing that. But basically, just want to say I'm going to try to check out more indie games and kind of would like to leave that door open, or at least like leave that platform. Or like, hey, if someone has an indie game they want me to play, play it on the Twitch channel, and of course upload those VODs and all that. So I have a few things that I kind of want to rant about a little bit. I know it's not really like too complaining, but hey, maybe others might relate and stuff like that. But the other day I went to Taco Bell. Like that's probably one of my favorite fast food places. I think a lot of people agree, but then a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I give you diarrhea, whatever." But Taco Bell is like my bay and all that. Yep. Okay. Anyways, when I was doing like grocery, like oh, I'll get some Taco Bell on the way home, and it's not the one I usually go to, but it has like how a lot of fast food places has two windows. Like the first window you pay at, and then the second window you pick up your food. And I was going through that, and like the person ahead of me like went forward a little bit, but not too much. And I ended to call it fast food, but it's kind of slow, so it's like not going. So I'm like, well, I don't want to drive up to the window and not like be at the window, like whatever. But So I was waiting there, and I was like, so there was a little gap between me and the car in front of me. I think like the person in front of me like could have gone further more to make more room for me. So I'm just like sitting there, and like the worker like checking out, like almost like looking like I'm an idiot for not like driving up to the window, but it's like there's not enough room for me to drive up. Like I would have to run my car into the car in front of me just to get to the window to pay, and it's just to pay. I'm not like that excited to pay for my fast food order, especially if I'm gonna have to still wait for the next window because you know how it is kind of like it's a little slow sometimes. So I just feel like look at me like an idiot. Like no, I can't really. It's like I want to like partly pull up and stop and still not be able to reach the window to get my a credit card or payment or whatever. And so yeah, I do that, and then it gets moving. But yeah, I feel like the car in front of me could have gone further to make more room. So it was like that's annoying too. And then also when I got to the second window for my order, it's like, and I do respect fast food workers. Like I think for what they get paid and how much shit they take, they deserve respect and all that. It's not like the easiest job, even though it's like more or less like entry level. But like when I get to the second window, like had to like confirm my order, and like it was that. And then like, and this one thing, I go to Taco Bell because they have the Mountain Dew Baja Blast, so I always have to get that. And then she's like handing me my drink, and she hands me a Pepsi, and it's like, that Nick, I think it's Nick Cannon, like Nick Cannon mean, like he's like questioning, like, what the fuck, like, I know. Like, I don't say, are you stupid? But, like, when you order fast food, you see on the menus, like, at least, or like the screen that says you confirm your order, like, yeah, it said Baja Blast and all that. And then she had the Pepsi, like, didn't you see the order? Like, why are you giving me a Pepsi? I get things get really busy, but the food was right. Like, you got me the right food. So she had to like get the Baja Blast. But I did also see, I guess she put the Baja Blast for me originally to the side. Because I saw it through the window, like next to her. I guess she didn't realize she put this, even though she filled it, she put it aside and forgot about it. Sure, she filled up another cup of Mountain Dew, and like, okay. And so it was just kind of annoying, and I don't know, maybe it's kind of like first world problems and complain about the fast food drive through. But I will have to say they should do away with the two window drive through. Like, I feel like it's more annoying because you have like stop and go and stop and go. Because there's no Taco Bell near me as well. It would be out of the way if I went there that day, but it's like really close to me. But they only have the one window, so that way you can wait, give your payment, wait, and they give you your food. Like I don't see why you need two windows. Like it feels like it gives the illusion that things are moving, but it would be just the same if it was just one window. Because processing the payment isn't that difficult, and handing food isn't. So I don't know. Maybe this gives an extra employee a job to sit at the front window. But sometimes even I see a lot of times they only have one window open, even though they have two. But I feel like they should just have the one window because it just doesn't make sense. At least that's my stupid opinion about it. So this other thing I wanted to rant about. This was a little while back when it was like grocery shopping and going to the self checkout. I guess it was that time of day where we got pretty busy, so it was a little backed up. But my God, this was just like a okay boomer moment. But this lady at the self checkout, like scanning. Well, she wasn't scanning her items. Like she was on one of those mobility scooters, and maybe just because of her age, because it wasn't like she was overweight, but maybe like hard to get around and stuff like that. So she was on her scooter, and like she had like how the self checkout always has a attendant there, like if things go up, like an issue or like hey they want to buy alcohol or whatever, the self checkout prompts for the attendants, and attendant's like helping her, and this attendant is literally scanning every item for her and on that, and I'm like, dude, if you're gonna waste everyone's time in the self checkout just to have the other person scan your groceries for you, then go to the just regular checkout. Just go through the regular line. They have enough room for your mobility scooter to go through because it's not no bigger than a shopping cart in terms of width and stuff. But like, it's just annoying because I think even feels like it takes longer doing that versus loading up on the conveyor belt and going through the regular checkout. So this poor guy is like scanning every item for this old lady. And then this is where also the most annoying part of it. I guess she was getting like these pre-cut. You know, this sometimes in produce like they have the bags that are like pre-cut. I think it was like apricots or whatever, but the apricots happened to be expired, and I think she brought it up because she said like, "Hey, like I guess you were trying to get free apricots that were expired," but I guess I couldn't really tell because distance away, but I guess they look decent. Um, but like the click, oh no, we can't sell that to you because we can't knowingly sell you expired food, and things get slipped through the cracks. And sometimes you might see expired food. I don't ever see it that often, but I guess in this case it happens. And yeah, just because I think my annoyance of this keep growing and growing, just because the line was this backed up, and I feel like I was waiting like over 5 minutes or more just to check out with my groceries at the self checkout. Even though the other areas are pretty busy too, so I don't know. But it was also kind of like the moment, like, okay, if I'm gonna waste my time and get annoyed, might as well see this thing to the end. So, like, she says, "Oh, these apricots expired," and she like wanted to get them for free. And the guy said like, "Oh no, we can't do that. We can't sell you these and stuff like that." Like, and she kept like going at it and at it, and then he had to get the manager, and the manager kept on like maybe like 4 or 5 times to like, "No, we can't sell this to you." And she's like, "Oh no, yes you can. I give it to you." Like it was point that, "Hey, we're not going to give this to you for free." Oh, okay, I'll just buy it. And then like, "No, we can't sell it to you either." There you go. So they had to like have a guy run back to the produce and get another bag of apricots for her, this old raggedy bitch. And I guess that was pretty much on the way. But it just felt like, hey, if you're getting that much assistance, like don't use the self checkout because you're not self checking out. You're just having other people being inconvenienced and all that. Especially like the apricots, because like that's one thing that sucks about like customer service is that people get all like argumentative and bitchy about things. Like no pretty much means no. It's not like if you ask like 4 or 5 times, we're going to change the answer, especially on something like, "Hey, we can't knowingly sell you expired food." So it's like, bitch, how many times does the manager have to tell you no? Like, and then again, everyone else is being inconvenienced at it, like holding up the line and stuff like that too. But that was just kind of like a rant I had about grocery shopping. Again, first world problems. And it's one thing that happened to me as well. Well, not really happened to me directly, but the neighbors next door like moved out a while ago. I can't remember. Maybe been 2 or 3 months. It's been a good while because they even did construction. And it's funny. Like today, they were doing construction like right before I recorded, and like, oh, that doesn't pick up. But I think they calmed down. So like, oh great. Like when I want to record stuff, they're being noisy just because it's construction and redoing the apartment. But the other day, like Walmart delivered groceries to them. I think that it's Walmart Plus because I remembered the neighbor that used to have the like use the Walmart Plus delivery to get stuff like delivered to the door, but no one was there, so I'm not sure what happened. And I don't know the names because I'm not sure if it was intended for them or a different person in my apartment complex. I remember it was like early day. I think I heard like the groceries being unloaded. It was like a big grocery load. But I remember like my dogs were barking and like a few hours I like go out and check it out and like, oh, this grocery's there, and like maybe I should check this out just in case it's stuff that might spoil or stuff like that. I don't want to have it sit in the sun. But yeah, it's just kind of weird. I don't know like if my neighbors like tried to ordered, but for by accident they ordered from the old address and got delivered there. So, and the weird thing about the Walmart delivery, well, I think the Walmart Plus is what they call it when you get free delivery. But I think even if you don't have that, they can deliver groceries. They only put much information on the bags. Like they have like the bags. They put like a little label. I think it's like the first initial and last name of the customer. But I don't have anything else like the address or stuff like that because it was like, oh, if this was intended for a different person and I know the apartment number, I could just kind of bring it to them and all that. And I know like, to be honest, I don't know if this is admitting anything like bad, but I just took the groceries because like if it'd be like I don't want to be inconvenienced with trying to contact Walmart customer service and say, hey, like you misdelivered these groceries. They weren't like because the apartment was empty. Like they even had bags over the windows, like trash bags. Has been doing a lot of like renovations, like they're redoing the floors and what and appliances and whatnot. But I don't want to like contact Walmart and say, "Hey, you misdelivered these groceries. Like, take them back or whatever." And I'm not sure if it's a thing with groceries. Like, they can't really resell food that's returned. Like, if someone else handled the food outside of their employees at store, then all that. I know it's more of a big deal with like frozen or refrigerated good because if you like have meats and you don't know if it's been mishandled and just returned back, I think they just kind of donate it and stuff like that. So like, well, I kind of kept it, and it was really much. A giant bag of raisins, canned meat. Like there was two big packs, like value packs of canned chicken breast and canned roast beef, which I actually used the roast beef for tacos, which turned out good. Again, I want to feel like I'm eating like enjoying groceries that aren't mine and all that. So I was like, well, I'll make use of it. And if anyone questions me, like I donated to charity. Now that there was like, besides that, there was also a little jar of instant coffee, which I'll use, and a thing of gauze pads. So I almost thought it would be like tampons when I saw it, but like, oh, it just boxes just gauze pads. Like, oh, just in case, like put that in the first aid kit. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of weird, and I'm not sure if any because I've been listening to, even though it's kind of defunct, the Gus and Eddie podcast, but like hearing so much shit about like people who deliver for like Postmates and stuff like that. Like I don't know, like if it's, I'm not sure if they get the money back because they didn't get the groceries, but hey, I'll make good use of it. Some other stuff I wanted to mention, like adventures of, I guess, dating, whatever, because some of the apps I use, for the sake of it, like Grinder. I don't use Grinder, but I think more people know what Grinder is. I did have someone like message me, like, because I like to put information on my bio, like what I like and stuff like that, like games, what games are you into and stuff like that. And this is what I was working, and then like it's a follow up message. Oh, I checked out your YouTube. It seemed like kind of like more classic retro games and stuff like that. And like I said, I was working. I saw like it's one of the things like when you pull down notification, you can kind of read the message. But I think I actually went in and read the message, and like a few hours later, I guess they blocked me because all of a sudden the message is gone. I don't see them as my recent viewers, so unless something happened with their account, but they seem like a genuine person. I know like sometimes it's someone like a spam or bot that's trying to like get people to go to a website. As he's a lot of times those get like deleted. I think maybe this person just blocked me just because I didn't respond to them within 2 hours. And yeah, I feel like that's a bad habit of mine. Like sometimes I'll check a message and feel like I'll just be responding to them later. And I'm not sure if it's all the apps that do that, but at least this one, like, I think gives like a little check mark. So if you're like looking at your message thread, you can see if it's marked as read. And I know like people get so butthurt, like, especially if you're not having a conversation, like, if you get to moments like we texting back and forth, like, okay, this guy has this moment to like chat and stuff, or if you're on the phone having an actual conversation in person, but if you get a message, I don't see the, I don't know, like I don't want to say like the importance, but like the crucialness of like, hey, I have to respond right away, like respond ASAP, or they get butthurt. So like, oh well, that was kind of wasted, but yeah, again, I feel like that's kind of a bad habit of mine, but oh well. And I even got this recent message, like, and I just mentioned this because I have no idea what the fuck this means, but someone said like, got T and G, you into? And this can the letter T as in Tom and G as in girl, and I know what the fuck T and G is. Like, I'm not sure if that's like code for drugs or something like that. I just wanted to like respond to the person, just like, what the hell are you talking about? But I think sometimes if they clarify, like, and you can report them and stuff like that. So I don't think they want to be more explicit if it is drug related. But I was like, what the fuck is TNG? So if anyone's for some reason listening to me, what the fuck is TNG? I don't know if that's like a gay thing, a drug thing, or whatever. But it's like very tempted, but I just don't want to like, because I wasn't even interested in the person. I don't want to like respond back or continue conversation I just don't want to have. But that like kind of piqued my curiosity. Okay, and then next thing I wanted to talk about, I mean, this is more like storytelling and all that. Maybe it's interesting, but I remember growing up having a uncle my mom's brother, so not like great uncle or anything, but my mom's brother, who was pretty much special needs. And it's kind of weird thing because I'm pretty sure he wasn't like born that way. Like I thought I remember hearing like it was an injury, like for some reason getting hit by a tree was what did it. But I remember like growing up, like my he lived with my grandmother, so my uncle lived with my grandma, and just kind of visiting him. And I don't know, he always it's like not like he wasn't capable, but you can just tell like he's not all like mentally. I don't know. I don't want to say mentally there, but just not as like mentally sound as your average person. I guess a good way to put it. I'm not sure if this makes sense, but he lived with my grandma, his mother, and I don't like the age differences and stuff like that. Like when my grandma had my mom and my uncle and aunt, but maybe a 30-year age difference. But my uncle and grandma felt like they were the same age. Like mentally, they felt like the same age. And my grandma was more capable and all that. So he probably like lived with her for most of his adult life. And I don't know. I just kind of was thinking about that too, just because I don't know. Like, and I don't want to like poke fun of people that are special needs or have like conditions like born with Down syndrome and stuff like that. So I guess it didn't really like click as much. Like, okay, something's really with my uncle, but enjoyed TV shows. I don't think he really even cooked, but probably like make a microwave or all that. I don't think he ever drove. I remember like especially as a kid, like visiting my grandma a lot, stuff like that. But yeah, I just kind of like this was thinking about that, and my grandma did have a nice huge pool table, and they played all the time. So it's not like he wasn't like able to do much. Like he would watch his TV shows and play pool and stuff like that. But and even shaved. Like I remember, I think he always had a mustache. I'm trying to think if he had more facial hair, but he was able to like groom himself too. But like I'm not sure if he ever had a job or anything like that. I remember I seen pictures of him younger, like there was like as kids, like kind of like the Sears portrait of him with my mom, and my other aunt, and I think even like maybe a high school senior picture of him where he looked fine. Like I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like you definitely wasn't like born with anything because I know sometimes with like Down syndrome or some other condition, they can kind of look at them and see like okay something is different and all that. So I thought that was just just thinking about that and like because one thing I want to do talk about too. That's little funny stories too. But I remember near the end, and unfortunately he passed away, which I don't know exactly the details because it was like that time of life where I live in different state and stuff like that, so I didn't get to really visit much. I don't think I really seen him in my adult life, but I'm trying to think the timeline because I know I think either, my mom and her sister. I know like and my grandma's life that of course lived with him. Like we moved her into our home, and then she unfortunately passed away and all that. We did have my uncle in like a facility, kind of special. And I guess it's kind of like a nursing home or something like that. But I just remember like visiting, and they had like this big open area where you can like visit and talk and stuff like that, and stuff like that. But I feel like he was kind of taken care of. Uh, but I just wanted to mention this too because I kind of felt as a kid, sometimes like when you visit like older relatives and things like that, you get bored easily, especially at the time before cell phones and like smartphones and games and stuff like that. Which again, that'd be also kind of annoying or maybe like disrespectful, like to be on your phone when you're visiting your old grandma or visiting your uncle and stuff like that. But I bring that up because I tried to think if it came off like, oh, we didn't want to be there, and just think how messed up that can come across. Like, imagine someone who, you know, has things happen in life where they become elderly or have other things happening to them where they have special needs, need to be in a special home or facility, visiting family and the family like doesn't want to be there. And I just think that was the case. I think, of course, like my mom and my dad and stuff like that too. Um, have conversations, things like that. But I just like trying to think back and wonder if I was a kid, like just like seeing being bored, like, oh, I don't want to be here. And how messed up that can be if someone's like, you're probably the highlight of the day, maybe even the week, if not more so. And you like come across like, I don't want to be there. So I kind of feel like, I don't know. I wish I could be more aware of the situation. Like, okay, like because of how his life went in these kind of events, like he's in telling me kind of acknowledge that I care and I love him and stuff like that too. So I don't know. It just kind of feels like you never know what the other person's feeling, especially when they're older or have more stuff going on. And I've been visiting like older relatives, like great aunts and stuff like that too. And I don't know if that changes over time in terms of like the next generation and stuff like that. But I always feel like as you get older, like family becomes important. You don't want to like feel like, oh, I'm here because we were drugged here and stuff like that. And we're bored and we're going to be just doing something else. And I think that's just kind of messed up too. Um, when you kind of visiting more like older relatives and things like that. But it's also kind of like some funny stories when it came to my uncle. Um, I remember like sometimes my grandma, we lived in the same state, but sometimes my grandma would kind of visit. She brought, and of course, she had to bring the uncle and all that. And this is like end of March, April. I remember it was April Fool's Day, and we were gonna prank my mom. Not like a big prank, but my uncle was living like in the, not living, but like staying, sleeping on one of the couches in like I think the, I think the living room, whatever, like living, I don't know what house layout, but it's pretty much like the room next to the front door that has the windows and stuff like that too. So I think it was my older brother was like pranking my mom saying, "Oh, the cops are at the door. You gotta go see the cops." And like my mom was like freaking out because she wondered if my uncle Joey like in his state of mind like got changed in the dining room with the window, like if the blinds were up in full view of the neighborhood, like thought that, oh, did like Uncle Joey like moon or like expose himself to the neighborhood and got a complaint and the cops at the door. They're like, no, April Fools. I just remember that moment of mom thinking there were cops at the door and was worried that my uncle actually exposed himself to the neighborhood, but that wasn't the case. But I thought that was kind of a funny story. And it's also kind of like maybe, I don't know, I'll get others mentioned. I didn't want to feel like I'm being insensitive, but I remember like that time when the frame of like moved my uncle into a home. And I think, yeah, it's definitely at the same time. I'm not sure if my grandma was deceased. No, it's definitely like before moved my grandma out because, of course, he wouldn't stay at the house without my grandma and all that. So I think got put in a home first. But I remember, like my mom and aunt was cleaning his room, and she was telling me like he had a soiled pair of underwear that he just threw in the back of his closet, and they found that. And I'm not sure how gross that was. I almost kind of like want to cringe just thinking about that, but yeah, that was kind of weird. But we also remember like the room he stayed at my grandma's house was a standard room, like all that. But one thing I wanted to also mention too is he used to like talk about his quote unquote girlfriend, and I think this with my grandma and my uncle is that she really liked to go to Reno a lot. Like she liked to go to casinos in Reno, and of course brought my uncle along because she had to. I think mostly just played slots. I don't ever remember him like. I think both my grandma like playing like anything else more involved, like blackjack or craps and stuff like that. Or playing slots, but he said like his girlfriend worked at one of the casinos in Reno, and all that. And he had a picture of her. Like again, I think it's just like a portrait. Like maybe she was like a nice like worker there. Maybe that did like some of the tables or whatever. But like one of the workers at the casino gave him her picture. It was like kind of like a portrait too. Like I'm not even sure if it would be like a headshot portrait or glamour shot or something. I think it was more like a glamour shot would be accurate to put it. But he had a picture of her in his wallet, and it's like, oh, that's my girlfriend, and all that. I don't think anything really happened. It's just like, oh, this girl was nice to me, so she's my girlfriend, and she's pretty as well. And I believe I actually met her. Like, of course, I saw the picture, but I think there was a few times that my family went to Reno with my grandma and uncle, and I think we actually like met her briefly. Like, oh, like this person does exist. He doesn't just have this crazy picture of this woman in his wallet. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of weird. And I know in this case, I'm not sure how people are like mentally or like what changed, but I'm pretty sure what my uncle went through was like a brain injury, like a head injury that really like messed him up. Versus people who like autistic or Down syndrome and stuff like that. But I just kind of feel like as I get older, like be more respectful and like, hey, maybe if you don't think that person maybe not mentally like is the same as you, they probably can still like know when things are being fucked up, even though I mean not confront them, but like when you're treating them differently or all that. So like I said, like I felt like if I made my uncle like feel like, hey, I don't care about being here or stuff like that, that's nothing that I want to like intentionally do. So it's kind of like one of the things if you can get a do over in life, like how things would go. I guess one last thing for the podcast, I did want to talk a little bit about more school memories and stuff like that. Because again, I've been listening to other podcasts and I feel like it was a little core memory unlocked, but I'm not sure if they still do this. But I know in elementary school they used to have students like help out in the cafeteria, like serving lunch food and all that. I think even I think it was like more like it'd be like in fourth and fifth grade, so it wasn't like first graders, but like helping out serving food. Like I think we got to get out of class a little bit early for lunch to help prepare and all that. And I think like some stuff like that to give us like extra chocolate milk, or on Friday we get extra pizza. Although it was like those little rectangle pizzas and stuff like that, which aren't all that great, but it's at school at that time. It was like, oh my god, this is great. We got extra pizza. But I think one thing that I remember is like the dishwasher. It's like this weird like thing that's like it's like a big rack, and then this thing above it, like you have a handle and you pull it down, and it does its thing. So helping with like probably wasn't really much like more like serving dishes and stuff like that, because of course with the school cafeteria it's more like those lunch trays that you just toss. But I just remember like the big dishwasher that you just kind of pull in the handle and does his thing. And I just remember getting out of class a little bit early, do that, and then getting the extra pizza on Friday. But that's stuff I was also thinking about. I remember in middle school, some electives we had besides like a read class, like I think it was on like one period where you can choose. I think with the school I went to only had like three, like home ec, wood shop, and study hall. And like this, you had it for a semester, and then you, I think most likely just because of the class sizes, like you had to choose a different elective next semester. Although, I think it was just 7 to 8. I think it was 6 through 8, but only 7 and 8 had those elective classes. But you may be able to like take it again in terms of like, hey, if you've been in woodshop, you'll be considered a woodshop 2 student, even though it's all kind of like the same classroom. And I'm trying to remember what I did in woodshop, because I know I took it for 2 semesters, but I just can't remember. I remember like the first project was like a cutting board, and we did like in the pig shape, all that. And I was kind of like get used to like using like a hacksaw and like sanding stuff, and then like using the finish and stuff like that. So that was kind of like fun. But I remember like second year you get to use some of the bigger tools, but I can't remember what projects I made besides making a Mancala board. And that I wish I still had that, because that I remember like that's what I learned about the game too. I think even like on down days, like our teacher would let us play Mancala with the extra boards that they had. But I just remember like being so proud of it. Like it looked really good. Like I forget like the board you put underneath it. That I think we just like really used really strong wood glue, but like the board was like a white, maybe like glossy board. They put the other piece on top. But I remember, oh, I want to get red paint, and like painted it so it's like red, with little cups and stuff like that. Whatever you want to call it with the Mancala. So I'm like, oh, this is unique. So the finish looks good, and I painted it to make it like, because red's my favorite color. Like, oh my god, I'm so proud of that. But it's either sitting at my parents' house or might have got tossed or donated. But another elective I liked was home ec. I kind of wish more people take it. I kind of wish it would have done more in terms like, it's pretty much we just make recipes and stuff like that too, like cook this and that. I think we even like stir fry one time. I love baked goods because I think a coffee cake we did one time, and we named me like pumpkin muffins. And remember that was when because I used to like not like pumpkin stuff because it just thought it was weird. I didn't like pumpkin pie, but I think we made these really good pumpkin muffins. Like, oh, pumpkin's really good. So I like more pumpkin baked goods versus just pies, but like cakes, bread, and muffins. But I feel like this is important. To kind of just know like measurements and how to follow recipes, like preheating the oven and stuff like that. Um, I kind of wish Helmick would also talk more about like balancing a checkbook and paying bills and managing that, or even taxes and stuff like that. But also remember we did a thing where you get like the little baby that you had to take care of. And I know you see a lot in cartoons like, oh, it's an egg or it's a bag of flour, but we actually had these baby dolls that we had to take home. And I think they had like a reader to kind of like check the stats when you turn the baby in. But some things like you had to support the head. So if you like don't support the head, like falls back and like, oh, boom, like it's a mark like, oh, you didn't support the head this many times. And there was times like the baby would randomly cry, and what you had to do is we had this like little key that you had to put in the back of the baby and hold it for a certain amount of time. Like I think it like makes it like a cooing sound or something like hey, leave the key in here, and then you can take the key out. So I thought that was kind of neat. I didn't remember like having to have the baby doll next to my bed when I go into bed. 'Cause I think it was like a week thing. And it's funny because I remember like seeing other students like, oh, they had the baby and all that. And I remember one time, like in class, the baby started crying, and I had to do the key thing, and I had a bad cough. Like I had one of the stupid moments where like I don't know if something gets caught in the back of the throat, or just like having a coughing fit while trying to carry the baby with a key. And nothing makes you feel more useless as a human being than like having a coughing fit. So yeah, I just remember, and I kind of wish I would bring that back, or I have no idea what schools do these days, but I think that was because it's kind of like it felt more real, even though it's like a doll, but um, like holding the car seat and taking that with you from class to class and home and stuff like that. I think I even been taking it on the bus because I know I took the bus all up into high school. This was in like eighth grade, but kind of a I don't know why that was kind of like unlocked in my memory, but that was really fun. And one thing, last thing I want to talk about is high school. Because remember in high school, like talking, because I feel like you had more electives, they got more choices and what you wanted to do with your classes. Of course, you had to take like English and math and all that. Like they had certain requirements, but if you want to take second languages, I remember taking ceramics, and that was pretty fun too. I even got to take that. I can't remember if that's a year or a semester. I think it was a full year. But I remember like the second year you got to use like the potting wheel so you can make better stuff. Like in the first year, you're kind of like making like clay coils and stuff like that to like build a pot from the bottom up. I also had some fun projects. Like I remember one, like make something that's not like kind of like fake something. I forget what the word is. Like there's a special word for it, but like it's like the stupid meme with like is it cake, but you had to make something out of clay. That I think like food was the common thing. So what I did is I made a pizza, and I put like little cheese and pepperoni made out of clay too, and actually baked pretty well in the kiln. And when it came out, I just used like acrylic paint and like paint a pizza. Like, oh, this actually looks good. I think I still have a picture of it on like my Facebook, and if I could, I probably could find it. Not that anyone's interested, but I remember like, oh my god, I made this fake pizza out of clay and it looks cool. Like it obviously like you can look at it as like, oh, that's not a real pizza, but maybe from a distance you can kind of fool somebody. But I remember, I think my parents still have that one. But yeah, I thought ceramics was pretty cool. But one thing I was thinking about school was like taking tests, and I remember I think it was just my first year math teacher when I took geometry. I can't remember if this was every big test, but I remember like, okay, you can get an index card and write whatever you want on that, and that can be a little cheat sheet. And I thought that was really cool because I'm hearing some people like really bad at taking tests and all that, but because I feel like at least have a cheat sheet, or I think even sometimes like okay, this test is open book, because I feel like in real life, like even though it's good to like retain information and have that knowledge like locked in your brain, but in real life, people are going to check textbooks. They're going to check references. Like, you don't go to a doctor's office and it's like, oh, I think I know what this is based on its symptoms. Like, quiz me. They're going to look at books. They're going to look up materials and make sure, like, okay, and plant treatment. I mean, like I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast, but I did work at a veterinary clinic, and like every time like we were taking out the different books, I don't know if it's like the resource, but like okay, we want to make sure we get the right doses for this drug. Like you always want to double check yourself. So in real life, like you're gonna have these information like always available, and even nowadays, like you have even phones and the internet and stuff like that. So it's like, hey, in real life application, people are gonna double check and check these materials and references to make sure they're right. But I thought it was cool just having like the little cheat sheet too, because I feel like also like people get really like, oh, you can't cheat and stuff like that, and get like in trouble. If I was a teacher, maybe it kind of makes sense, like maybe to break up tests, like doing this test is closed book, but this is open book, just so you can actually recall the information because that's kind of important too. I guess the last thing I want to talk about high school. This is like a random memory as well, but I remember like they got more vending machines, and like I think forever like we had like just to drink ones like for soda and other stuff, but then they had more like snack machines. But I remember this one. It was hot food, and we thought it was the coolest thing. And I think maybe it's just like a over fancy microwave, but you can like choose what you want. I think well, I know French fries was one. I think they had like maybe two pizzas. Like you can get pepperoni or supreme, and I'm pretty sure chicken strips. I feel like there's more, but I can't remember. But I think, oh, we can get French fries and stuff like that. But I felt like for how much you paid and stuff like that, you might as well just drive to McDonald's to get food. But I just remember thinking, oh, this is cool. But because I think it was like maybe we were junior or senior, so we had cars. But sometimes like it's more of a hassle to like leave school for lunch versus like eating food on campus. Can imagine being a freshman and think, oh, I can get pizza, I can get French fries and stuff like that. I think that's the only time I've really seen a vending machine like that would actually like have hot food. Like there was like a little timer, so that's why I keep thinking it's like a microwave. I think it was so cool. Like, oh, I got hot French fries, and I think they're pretty good. Like, nothing like too crazy good or crazy bad. But I was like, oh, yeah, it's French fries, it's chicken strips, it's pizza. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, just had some random memories to talk about. So this will do it for the podcast. So thanks for listening. I have stuff in the works, so we'll see what happens with the channel. Again, probably streaming is a big thing too. So catch the streams, or if not, catch the VODs. I've also been doing highlights videos as well, like compilations. Sometimes I do like 2 highlights per stream, just so I can have it on a Twitch channel too. Because you like I don't know too much about Twitch, but I know my stream VODs like expire and go away and get deleted automatically. But I've been putting clips just so they're there, so if someone's on my Twitch channel, they can check out what I played in the past. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do like 2 highlights per stream, maybe just 1, and all that. Sometimes I feel like it's a stretch, like, okay, was this really a highlight where I just want to get something? So it kind of depends. But if I do like indie games, if it's like a lot of demos, maybe I'll do one for each game. But definitely check that out. And yeah, that'll do it for this week. So thanks for listening again, and you all take care and hope you have a good day. Bye.